In the distant realm of Aurea, the king and his noble knights pursue a fearsome dragon across rolling hills. Their chase leads them into a shadowy cave, where a horrifying scene awaits. Before they can react, the dragon swoops in, unleashing a torrent of flames that incinerates most of the knights. With terrifying precision, she uses her powerful tail to capture and eliminate the rest. The king, left alone, drops to his knees, awaiting his fate. Centuries later, in a northern land gripped by relentless winter, two sisters, Floria and Elodie, daughters of the local lord, gather firewood. Their people struggle against hunger and cold, and many have already left in search of survival. One day, a carriage arrives unexpectedly. The sisters hurry home to find a nun departing after an unusual conversation with their father, Lord Bayford, and stepmother, Lady Bayford. Lord Bayford announces that the royal family of Aurea has requested Elodie's hand in marriage for their prince. Initially resistant, Elodie is convinced by her father's promise of wealth that could save their town from collapse. The family sets sail to Aurea, but as they approach the kingdom, a dense mist shrouds their path, and ghostly figures loom, revealed to be enormous dragon statues guarding the land. Upon arrival, they are astounded by the prosperity of Aurea and the grandeur of its castle. That evening, Elodie catches sight of a girl her age across from her balcony, but the girl is whisked away before she can wave. The next day, Elodie meets Prince Henry, and after a hesitant start, they warm to each other, especially as they discuss Elodie's artistic skills. She also learns from Henry about the eerie ceremony that would take place later that night, one honoring their ancestors and symbolically linked to their wedding. As the ceremony unfolds, Lord Bayford appears uneasy, while Lady Bayford's attempts to bridge a friendly bond with Queen Isabel are met with cool disdain. Isabel bluntly emphasizes that this marriage is purely a transaction to fulfill mutual needs. On the wedding day, Elodie is dressed in finery, with a symbolic dagger and a diffuser of perfume. Following a ceremonial exchange, she and Henry join the ritual, which takes place on a desolate mountain. Participants wear unsettling golden masks, and Isabel herself dons a nun's garb, recounting a tale of a dragon who once terrorized Aurea until a king offered his own daughters to broker peace. As the ritual reaches its climax, blood is drawn from Henry and Elodie's hands, marking her initiation into royal blood. She is handed a ceremonial coin, which she throws into the abyss, unaware that Henry's true task is yet to come. With a quiet apology, he hurls her into the chasm below. Elodie plummets, colliding with branches before landing in mud, injured but alive. In the darkness, she notices pieces of jewelry scattered about, realizing with horror that she's not the first to be sacrificed. Determined to survive, Elodie ventures into the cave, where she encounters an enchanted firebird, which dies just as it lights up her path. Soon, the dragon emerges and Elodie narrowly escapes its flames. Crawling through tight tunnels and injuring herself further, she stumbles upon the remains of the girl she had seen on the balcony. Desperation spurs her to discard remnants of her wedding attire as she fights her way to freedom. Elodie makes use of everything at her disposal, fashioning makeshift lights from glowing cave creatures and even enduring the agony of an injured leg. In a moment of calm, she finds a cryptic message on a wall. "Safe here, she cannot reach," signed by a girl named Victoria. Discovering dresses and names of past victims, Elodie's resolve strengthens as she grieves for the lives lost. Though battered and weary, Elodie presses on through the labyrinthine caves. Afterward, Elodie clutches the lantern as she tries to drift off to sleep. Suddenly, she begins to envision the phantoms of the past sacrifices, writhing in anguish, fear, and betrayal. She sees Victoria inscribing her name on the wall, only to abruptly turn and declare to Elodie that it's all a fabrication. At that moment, Elodie jolts awake to find slugs crawling all over her leg wound. Panicking, she frantically pulls them off, only to realize that their slime possesses healing properties, miraculously mending her leg. She then applies a slug to another serious wound, apologizing for underestimating their potential. Feeling rejuvenated, Elodie scans her surroundings and discovers a map affixed to the wall, indicating that at least one girl managed to escape. The map reveals that she will encounter 3 paths in the tunnel, instructing her to take the central route while following the glowing crystals and music toward freedom. Resolutely, Elodie rips off the troublesome parts of her dress, adds her name to the wall, and heads down the middle path, dismissing the distant echoes of a dragon's growl. As she advances, a gentle melody reaches her ears, leading her to a wall adorned with crystals, which emit sounds and shimmer in the sunlight just below the exit. Nearby, she spots a crown marked with a V, confirming that Victoria had made it out. Aware of the crystal's sharp edges, Elodie tears off more of her dress to protect her hands and feet, then uses the crown to begin her ascent. Unbeknownst to her, the dragon is watching her closely. Elodie struggles upwards, but a crystal crumbles beneath her grip, causing her to fall. Fortunately, she manages to grab onto the crown just in time. The sound of the dragon draws nearer, pushing Elodie to hasten her climb until she finally reaches the exit, only to find herself teetering on the edge of a perilous cliff high on the mountainside. Heartbroken, she sinks to her knees in despair. Suddenly, the sound of horses neighing captures her attention, and she spots a group of riders approaching the mountain. Desperate, she attempts to call for help, but just then, the dragon swoops down, blocking the opening. She narrowly escapes its grasp and notices another message etched into the wall, warning that the area is unsafe, signed by V. Nearby, she sees a lifeless body, realizing that Victoria perished here, never to escape. As the dragon readies its fiery breath, it halts upon hearing a male voice calling Elodie's name. The dragon diverts its attention to investigate, revealing that Lord Bayford has come with 2 knights and a guide to search for Elodie. They begin descending into the cave with ropes, and Elodie uses their voices as a guide to navigate back. In her exploration of a new tunnel, she stumbles upon a nest containing 3 dead baby dragons. The recollection of Victoria's words hits her, and she understands that Isabel had deceived them. The dragon wasn't the last of her kind and hadn't attacked first. A flashback reveals the king's brutal intent to slaughter the hatchlings, turning the dragon's vengeance into a retaliation against the royal family. Since then, the crown had offered up 3 women, their blood mingled to masquerade as royal daughters. Elodie eventually encounters her father and his men, but refrains from revealing herself for her safety. The dragon reappears, seizing one knight and lifting him skyward before dropping him from a great height, resulting in a fatal impact. While the guide takes refuge, the dragon captures the second knight, crushing him beneath her massive paw and demanding to know Bayford's purpose. He pleads for his daughter's safety and attempts to strike the dragon with his sword, but she ensnares him with her tail, disarming him effortlessly. Elodie remains hidden, biding her time as the dragon instructs Bayford to call out for his daughter. In response, Bayford delivers a heartfelt apology, confessing his grave mistakes, but just as he urges Elodie not to come forward, the dragon retaliates, piercing him in the heart with her claw. Unable to suppress her grief, Elodie gasps, prompting the dragon to search for her. At that moment, the guard inadvertently makes a noise, redirecting the dragon's attention toward him. Seizing the moment, Elodie bids her father farewell, kissing his forehead before he passes. She then uses the rope left by him to climb out of the tavern. Meanwhile, the dragon tracks down the guide, crushing him without mercy before turning her sights back on Elodie. Climbing quickly, Elodie narrowly escapes the flames that now engulf the entrance. She leaps onto her father's horse, riding for only a moment before hiding beneath some rocks. The horse gallops away, deceiving the dragon into pursuing it instead. The dragon unleashes fire upon the clouds, conjuring a tempest as a signal that the pact has been broken. In the castle, Isabel takes notice and dispatches knights to abduct Floria. Lady Bayford attempts to intervene, only to be stabbed in the ensuing chaos. Once the flames have subsided, Elodie emerges from her hiding place, colliding with Lady Bayford, who has arrived on horseback despite her wounds. Upon learning what transpired, Elodie vows to rescue her sister and mounts the horse, heading back toward the mountain. Meanwhile, Floria is taken to the bridge, but Henry protests, refusing to perform the ritual on a child. Ignoring his objections, Isabel resorts to her own blood, mixing it with Floria's before casting her into the abyss. When Elodie arrives at the bridge, she finds it deserted, with Floria unconscious and ensnared by the dragon, who holds her as bait to lure Elodie. Determined, Elodie descends back into the tavern with the rope, utilizing her earlier experience to navigate the path much faster. After confirming the dragon's lair on the map, Elodie arms herself with her father's sword, preparing a trap. The trap consists of armor and rope set ablaze under a small flame. Elodie retreats, and when the rope burns through, the armor crashes, compelling the dragon to investigate the noise. This distraction allows Elodie to stealthily enter the lair and awaken Floria, who limps due to her injury. As the dragon discovers the trap, Elodie readies her sword, explaining that they've all been deceived by the queen. The dragon, however, dismisses her and attempts to unleash flames. Elodie pierced the dragon's mouth with her sword, redirecting the fiery blast but losing her footing and tumbling over the lair's edge, sustaining burns on her arms and shoulder. As the dragon extracts the sword, Elodie splashes into a lake, emerging just in time to catch another sword Floria tosses her. Suddenly, the dragon pounces, grasping Elodie and preparing to strike her down. Before it can succeed, Elodie plunges the dagger into the dragon's eye, forcing it to release her. Elodie seizes the moment, rushing toward the dragon, which is now disoriented from the loss of one eye. She pierced it in the chest, but the blow proves superficial, leading the dragon to grasp her once more. In a moment of inspiration, Elodie observes the dust settling against a curved stalagmite, prompting her to take a stand. She challenges the dragon to incinerate her, standing firm as the beast breathes fire. At the last moment, Elodie sidesteps, allowing the flames to ricochet off the stalagmite, which crashes down onto the dragon, bringing it to the ground. Once subdued, Elodie shows the dragon the scar on her hand, proving that innocent girls, not royal ones, had been slain. The dragon pleads for Elodie to end her suffering, but she refuses to continue the cycle of vengeance, opting instead to place a handful of slugs on the dragon's wounds to facilitate its healing. Meanwhile, in the castle, another wedding commences to ensnare the third girl of their generation. Suddenly, a coin rolls down the altar, and Elodie strides in, urging the bride to flee with her family. She addresses the townspeople, encouraging them to escape, but only the servants heed her call. At that moment, the dragon arrives, incinerating Isabel and everyone connected to the royal lineage, finally putting an end to the tyranny. As chaos ensues, Henry resigns himself to his fate, acknowledging his guilt. With the castle crumbling around her, Elodie walks away, her head held high. Days later, Elodie, Floria, and a recuperated Lady Bayford prepare to set sail on a ship filled with gold and provisions for their people. They decide to rule their lands together, and Elodie begins to affectionately call Bayford Mother instead of stepmother. As they journey home, the dragon soars nearby, sharing a moment of mutual respect with Elodie. And that brings us to the close of Elodie's courageous journey, where resilience and compassion overcame age-old betrayals and powerful enemies. Through her fight to save her sister and her choice to end the cycle of vengeance, Elodie proved that true strength often lies in mercy. If this story of dragons, daring escapes, and unexpected alliances captured your imagination, don't forget to like, subscribe for more legendary recaps, and let us know in the comments, what would you have done in Elodie's place? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next epic tale.